We regularly turn down things we want right now to serve someone we haven't even met yet, our future selves. We eat plain salads instead of chocolate cake, we stay late at the office, and we stash away money in retirement accounts, all with the expectation that the person we eventually become will appreciate the sacrifice. But that temporal progeny is often thankless. We endure years of dietary forbearance and shrewd investing, only to arrive at that carefully planned future and realize it isn't what we actually want. Our future selves often look back at the goals we worked so hard to achieve and complain about the wrong slipcovers, pursued the wrong career, and moved to the wrong city. Every brain on Earth is built to make short-term predictions. A squirrel's brain anticipates the ground beneath its foot. A sea slug's brain anticipates an electric shock. Psychologists call this nexting, an automatic, unconscious calculation about what is going to happen in the immediate, local space over the next few milliseconds. Humans do something entirely different. We engage in prospection, the conscious simulation of the distant future. This ability arrived when the human brain more than doubled its mass in a few million years, with the vast majority of that growth centered in the frontal lobe. We know exactly what this tissue does because of the 19th century railroad foreman named Phineas Gage. An explosion drove a 3.5-foot iron rod through his skull, taking a chunk of his frontal lobe with it. He survived and could still walk and talk, but he completely lost the ability to plan. He was permanently locked in the present. Nature didn't overhaul the architecture of the human skull just so we could sit around daydreaming. This neurological time machine gave our ancestors a way to experience the future before it happened. By previewing chains of events in our minds, we can spare ourselves the hard lessons of experience. We imagine the future so we can steer our lives toward the one destination we all want to reach: happiness. To steer toward happiness, we have to believe our hands are actually on the wheel. Human beings are born with a biological desire to make things happen. Being effective, changing our environment, and influencing outcomes is highly rewarding to the brain. In nursing homes, for example, studies show that when people lose control over simple daily choices, their health rapidly declines. This drive is so powerful that we constantly behave as though we can control the uncontrollable. Casino players will physically throw dice harder when they want a high number and softer when they want a low one. We act as if our personal involvement can bend the laws of probability. We project ourselves into tomorrow to shop among the many fates that might befall us. We run mental simulations of different jobs, different partners, and different cities, comparing the emotional payloads of each scenario, and then we try to maneuver ourselves toward the one that promises the most joy. But this entire strategy relies on a single, fragile assumption. To successfully chart a course toward a happy future, we need to know what happiness actually is, and as it turns out, our internal tools for measuring human joy are broken. Lori and Reba Chappelle are conjoined twins. Sharing a blood supply and brain tissue, they have spent every moment of their lives locked face to face. Yet, if you ask them how they feel about their lives, they will tell you they are joyful, playful, and optimistic. They are adamant that they would not want to be surgically separated. Most of us hear that and immediately reject it. Medical historians and surgeons often argue that separation is an ethical imperative, assuming a conjoined life is unlivable. We look at Lori and Reba and assume they just think they are happy because they don't know what they are missing. This diagram illustrates the language squishing hypothesis. It assumes that because the twins have restricted experiences, their language compresses a narrow life into a full spectrum of words. So an 8 out of 10 for cake describes a mildly pleasant experience. But notice how this scale changes for experience stretching. Encountering something highly pleasurable permanently stretches our baseline, downgrading simpler things. This means you cannot objectively judge the twins from your perspective, nor can they judge yours. The exact moment you have a new experience, your internal lens changes, altering how you evaluate everything that follows. If we can't accurately measure someone else's joy, can we at least trust our own internal records? Can we reliably remember how happy we were in previous relationships, or how a specific meal actually tasted? Consider this experiment on visual awareness. A researcher asks a pedestrian for directions. Suddenly, 2 workers carrying a large door cut between them. As the door passes, a completely different researcher takes the first one's place. The new person has different clothes and a different haircut, and yet the majority of pedestrians never even notice they are talking to a new person. This is called change blindness, and it applies to our emotions too. Unless our minds are keenly focused on a specific feeling at the exact moment it changes, we must rely on our memories. And our memories are fragile, easily overwritten by the words we attach to them later. The disconnect goes even deeper. The part of your brain that generates an emotion is separate from the part that makes you aware of it. People with a condition called alexithymia will show measurable spikes in heart rate and blood pressure when shown an evocative image, but will honestly report feeling absolutely nothing. Like a blind person whose eyes work but whose visual cortex doesn't, we can suffer from numb feel, experiencing a reaction in real time without being aware of it. If our memories of the past are overwritten and our awareness of our present feelings is full of blind spots, then the data we feed into our mental time machine is completely compromised. Trying to predict what will make us happy a decade from now, based on how we think we feel today, is a doomed enterprise. We are caught in a trap of our own biology. Our expanded frontal lobe compels us to build elaborate visions of tomorrow, but our subjective blindness forces us to evaluate those visions using the emotional blueprints of today. This is the foresight illusion. It is the persistent belief that things in reality will feel exactly as they appear in the mind's eye. We assume that if we can just get the promotion or buy the house, the resulting joy will match the fantasy perfectly. Realizing that your internal compass is broken can make major life choices feel paralyzing. If you can't accurately predict what will make you happy, it seems like there is no correct way to choose a career or a partner. But consider what this really means. If Lori and Reba can find joy without cartwheels, and if our internal baselines actively stretch to find satisfaction in new realities, then your future self is more resilient than you give it credit for. The pressure to make a single perfect choice loses its weight once you realize that your brain is designed to find a sense of 8 out of 10 in almost any future you land in. In 1915, Ernest Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, sank in the Weddell Sea, stranding his crew in the brutal Antarctic. It was a catastrophic, unplanned reality. Yet, facing starvation, Shackleton wrote in his diary about sailing in a small lifeboat over raging oceans, noting that the men broke into song. "We were feeling happy," he wrote. Shangri-La is rarely where we plot it on the map, but we are neurologically wired to find genuine joy in the lives we never expected.